welcome to Econo Chat. Let's Talk Business with Mr. Daniel Steinman. I'm Elsie, your hostess. A warm welcome to everyone tuned in right now. We are excited to talk about the budget today. Of course, the master behind our, or should I say, our informative to break down what the budget really is about is, of course, here with us today. Like always, Mr. Daniel Steinman, welcome to you.
Thank you, Elsie.
Yeah, you were looking at me like, what is this woman trying to say?
I have to tell you, before we can talk about the budget, we need to get the documentation.
Well, I'm sure that you know more than we do, so let's start there.
I've been following it. I listened to the minister's speech and I got a copy of the budget statement.
Mm-hmm.
But in there, she apologized for the documentation not being ready.
Yeah.
And I think if you remember correctly, I said somewhere last month, I basically cautioned the listeners that we will probably not get a budget in March. Maybe a budget statement, but not the actual figures. Now, that basically happened, that we've got a very broad indication of what to expect.
Yes.
But you will also see from the analysis that you see in the market is that we are cautious, we are careful not to make outrageous statements because the final documentation is not available. We know what the revenue framework is, and we have a good indication of what the expenditure framework is, but critical information like GDP can't find it. And I've been hunting for it, and I think there's a good reason for it, because in the next part of our talk, I will explain a bit more in detail what's happening there with the budget process this year. But at this stage, I think it is just it suffices to say that we are awaiting the final documentation. The minister's indication was maybe 3 or 4 weeks. I would assume maybe a little longer, because you have to remember it's a big transition.
It is.
From a former administration to current administration. Also the fact that the president, in a good wisdom, has found it expedient to combine Ministry of Finance with another ministry, which increases the workload. And it also runs the danger of distracting a little bit of the attention that you need for the budget. But again, the budget is not drawn up by one person or one organization. It is drawn up as a collaboration between the ministry and the National Planning Commission and the Statistics Agency and various other administrative support systems. It's an interesting fact, but there's about 200 people working on the budget. That's their main job, So I always describe them as a small army of planners and people that work with finances. I'm just going to put out a small teaser for the second half of our chat, and that is that what I can see from the expenditure part, the expenditure framework, is that the minister is very cautious in her approach, keeping in mind that final figures are not available. She has downgraded, well, that's not the right word, she has reduced the rate of increase. So the expenditure this year, or for 25-26, is still projected to be bigger than last year, but only by a small margin. She says there that because of various factors, and we'll come back to them later, she has reduced the budget after, when it was sort of in semi-final stage, by 1.2 billion Namibia dollar. Now that's not a train smash, but I mean, if you reduce the expenditure side, it means that you have to take it away somewhere.
Yeah.
It's not as if you just say, okay, now let's cut 1.2 billion. The big question always from the minister's point of view is, whose 1.2 billion are we going to cut? You know,
Yeah.
and it'll probably be a conglomeration of cuts in various ministries. But what the signal that it sends out is that 2024, although in terms of the broader economy, it was a good year, a growth year, continuing the momentum since COVID, it was for the fiscus not a very good year. And I see now in a number of places, people talk about the reasons for the slowdown. And the slowdown is not ex post facto, it is in anticipation of what's coming. Then people wildly say, no, it's because of SACU transfers and because of that. I don't want to knock anybody else's opinion, but I have to tell you, it's absolute nonsense. We know about 18 months in advance what we will get from SACU, so we can plan accordingly. But we'll get back to that later.
Okay, let's quickly go for that short break.